And it's wild how anything within that can sort of create a reality, whether it's a reality that's close to what's actually going on or us thinking our parents are still alive. We're thinking those thoughts and we might seem crazy to other people, but that is our reality. That's our truth in that moment because our brain isn't, it's so powerful that it creates whatever that world is. It really is. Like your mind is unbelievable.
I was reading about that new diet.
Oh
Noon,
God.
noon, noon. I was just reading about it. Some guy was talking about it on Instagram. They had
Hmm.
something, and I said, "Let me look this thing up." And it's a diet, unlike like Weight Watchers or whatever. It attacks your mental.
Wow.
You want it to this diet the first 20 days or something is a lot of journaling, a lot of walking 9,000 steps a day, shit like that. But it teaches you how to eat all over again. But it's psychological. And it's pretty interesting. I was thinking about joining up and seeing what it's about. I'm just not in the mood to start another fucking diet. I'm happy with Weight Watchers. It works, but it just goes to show you that if the mind can, what's that? The mind can conceive, the body can achieve. So it
Yes.
all starts with your mind first.
It really does. It's
You
like you
know,
can create your own placebo effect.
it's so weird how I did a podcast last year about turning the switch. How some people, it's harder for some people turn the switch on quicker than others. If I put two people on the same open mic and watch them and they both do the same amount of sets every night, one guy is going to naturally be ahead of the other guy. You know what I'm saying? Like one guy, and then the one guy catches up over in time. The guy that got ahead, his cat dies, he doesn't go out for a week, and then the other guy comes in and does the sets and catch up to him. But it's just really interesting how we could start at the same time and we could both have different results, but we both get to the same destination. Do you know what I'm
Yes. And
saying? Like with comedy,
yes.
the destination is the Comedy Store. Every night on stage, that's where I want to be. So when you write down that goal, that's where it starts. I want to be at the Comedy Store 4 nights a week, next to Bill Burr, next to JESSIMAE Peluso, next to Joe Rogan. And the more you write that, that's why I always say I like writing goals, because the power of the pen. The power of the pen will take you there without you even fucking knowing. It's so weird. Even now, I write little goals and I go to the gym and boom, 3 weeks later, I'm achieving them. And I thought I can, like being able to row 20 minutes in a row, on the rowing machine, whatever the
Yeah.
fuck. Like I always do stupid shit like that. I started walking on the treadmill. So you got to like fucking put it up to 10 and run up the hill and die and then switch it. But you got to change it up on your mind. It's so weird how the mind, and I got to be honest with you, and people aren't going to believe me when I tell you this. With comedy, I did a lot of fucking meditating, and I had to
Mm.
see myself there first. Like I would go to a theater with Joe Rogan and go, wow, I'm never going to be able to play this fucking theater. And then I would go, see, you're catching yourself talking shit.
Yep.
You have to leave here saying you'll be back on your own one fucking day when you leave the theater. Have your hand touch the wall or whatever, and then go home that night and write it. I want to play this fucking theater. When I used to work for Joe and I would go to those theaters, I fucking wrote those theaters' names down. And I think out of like the 31 theaters he took me to, I went to 27 of them on my own.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know about that little secret that I did on my own just to prove to myself that this is where you came at one time as an opener and now you came back here as a headliner.
Yeah, it's you're basically applying a lot of really advanced strategy for yourself. Visualizing and visualization is huge for achieving goals. It's probably one of the most important aspects of it. And writing it down, I do the same thing. I do the same exact thing, mainly because I have ADD, like actually diagnosed ADD, not just when people say, "Oh, I have OCD, I have ADD." I really do, and it's a struggle. And one of the things that helps me with all my chaotic thoughts is writing them all down. And I realize the same thing where you start to write things down and then you're like, it's really important to track yourself. Otherwise, we're just ships with no direction. We're literally just floating around in this fucking ocean, not doing anything, not going to any port, not visiting anybody, not catching any fucking fish. You're just a ship in the ocean doing jack shit.
You're
And
rudderless. You're
exactly.
rudderless. And it's funny because when I got into comedy, I knew nothing. You know, I didn't have a coach to tell you. So everything I did, I figured out on my own. And the little things were to write the date, the name of the venue, you know, if you were a feature or a headliner or MC.
I
And I
wish I
would
would have done that.
and I would write out my set, and then, but I would be honest with myself. Like when I get home from a show, before I even did a line of coke, before I rolled a joint, before I peed, before I took a shit, it was a discipline. I opened up this notebook and would write down my sets. So I did the Houston Lap Stop. I did okay. I could have done better.
Would you write that down?
Yes. And I wouldn't write the reasoning. Like I would never say the audience sucked. I would always put I need to work harder. And then I would always put the material that I used, the key jokes. So when I come back, I don't use those jokes again. And it's funny, when I lived in Boulder, I started that. And in Boulder, I had a 20 set a month goal. You were not going to hit it. There wasn't 20 sets. There was no way.
In Colorado?
Yeah, when I was an open mic, unless somebody took you on the road, and I wasn't ready for that.
Unless you're entertaining a field of weed.
Yeah, no, I would go to I would follow like a fucking, what's that shit that Miley Cyrus's dad invented? The Whoopi song, whatever the fuck, my achy breaky heart. Remember they used to dance that fucking dance, in my breaky breaky heart. A bunch of rednecks with boots and hats on a fucking country bar.
Shuffling.
So, dog, Sunday nights I would follow line dancing class. There was comedy at 8 after a fucking hour line dancing class. You had to throw these fucking rednecks out because that's the way the club did it. And then they do country dancing that night at 9. Fucking horrible. You know, Monday I was at a fucking Australian bar and they put us in the back in the rehearsal room. Like the rooms had padding and shit on it. And you had to close the door and you couldn't breathe in there. People were on stage turning purple because it was like a bank vault and they would only seat 16 people. Tuesdays I had the Comedy Works. Wednesday I had Club 56 or the fucking Elvis impersonator's room. He was a chef, and then he was an Elvis impersonator. He weighed like 500 pounds, so I had to open for him and then wait for him to do his set so I could go back up there and greet him good night. Nobody knows. I'd rather take it up the ass than had that job. Now, in hindsight, that I think about it, seeing an Elvis impersonator is fucking suicide. Like, that's what Elvis, like, listen, you could either do 20 years in jail or sit through a set of an Elvis impersonator with a knife next to you. If you can make it, you'll fucking walk free out of this fucking prison. Thursday, I had El Torito, the Mexican joint in Burbank, where the fucking you get poisoned in there. The food was horrible.
Yeah, you cry out of your asshole.
El Torito was so fucking bad.